100.1 FM.
I'm delighted now to have online Jackie Keogh from the Southern Star. Welcome to Bere Island Community Radio, Jackie.
Thank you very much for giving me a call.
You wrote an article there for your own paper about the Cork South West constituency. I thought it was an excellent article. So for our listeners, could you give us a synopsis of what you wrote, or summarise what you wrote for our listeners so they have an idea of what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, I'll try to. It was a 1,000-word article. And, you know, when you're writing an article like that, you basically have like a 50-word paragraph, but you've got to say a lot in 50 words. So covering the broad base of it, like historically, who's in the race and all of that, it's hard to condense. So to summarise, there's 14 candidates vying for 3 seats in Cork South West. There was an electoral change where other constituencies got additional seats. And I think Cork South West could have done with a 4th seat, but it didn't get it. So for the population that's there, there's 3 seats up for grabs, and we have 3 sitting TDs who, in my opinion, and having talked to pundits, are possibly best placed to be re-elected given the brevity of the election campaign.
Yeah, and I suppose since that election, Michael Collins, which will be one of the outgoing TDs, Michael Collins has become a leader of his own party that he started with another guy, is called Independent Ireland. And Holly Cairns has also become leader of the Social Democrats. So how would you see the leadership role that they've taken on? Is it going to be a hindrance, or will it be an advantage to them, do you think?
I think it has to be an advantage, because if you look at the first preference votes on the last occasion, Michael Collins had 11,712 and Holly was in 3rd place with 4,690. Now, if you move forward to June of this year, you'll see that Michael was able to get his Independent Ireland candidates elected. There's now 3 in the 3 electoral areas in West Cork. Danny, John, both his brothers, and Daniel Sexton in Skibbereen. And likewise, there were 3 candidates in the 3 electoral areas, and Holly Cairns, who had a first preference vote in her election in 2020 of 4690, she was able to see 2 of her 3 candidates across the line. And Chris Heinhold in Bantry came very, very close to getting a seat as well. He put in a very strong campaign and he got, I think, 1,000 first preference votes. So Holly in particular has a very high national profile because I think her social media presence plays very well, particularly with younger voters, and they have a loyalty to her, and I think they will turn out in numbers to give her their support. Meanwhile, I think Michael Collins, his Belfast or blind boss, has brought him into so many homes right throughout the constituency and beyond.
I suppose that is an advantage to him, all right. And on the whole, he actually does speak well. I know now, he caused a bit of controversy with the migration and immigration and that type of thing. No, he said he was misquoted and it was taken out of context and whatever. But Fianna Fáil, Christopher Sullivan, then he seems to have done well over the last 4 years officially. But you have, we say, 14 candidates now. So if the challenges to come to those 3, what about Fine Gael, Labour? Where do you think it's going to come? Will it come from one of the independents? What about Sinn Féin? Have you any feedback in the last week or 2 since you were going around your area?
Well, there are 2 Sinn Féin candidates among the 14, Claire O'Callaghan and Donncha O'Shea, a former town councillor here in Skibbereen. But if you look at Christopher's figures on the last occasion, in 2020, he was second past the post with 6,262 first preference votes, I think. And if you look at how Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are strategising for this election, Fianna Fáil have decided to put one candidate up, and they're hoping that the party will unite behind Christopher, even though there's some talk of internal camps and whatnot. But if the party gets behind him, they're hoping that his first preference votes will put him so far ahead that he'll be hard to catch up. However, he's not going to do as well on transfers, except perhaps for Alan Coleman, the independent councillor, former Fianna Fáil, who is standing in the Bandon area. So then the opposition to Christopher, so to speak, and the challenge to him retaining the third seat in Cork Southwest, the two strongest challengers are Senator Tim Lombard. He's been a senator since 2016, but he missed out on the third seat. He lost to Holly in 2020, despite having a very good first preference vote of 5,865. So now, to kind of complicate matters further, Fine Gael have decided to do a two-man tag team sort of strategy. So they're hoping that the votes of one will transfer to their running mate and bring at least one Fine Gael politician across the line and regain the seat for Fine Gael in Cork Southwest.
And I see you mentioned Alan Coleman there. He actually did very well in the local elections. And the guy you mentioned there for Fine Gael, Noel O'Donovan, before he was actually co-opted when Dáil resigned his TD seat, he got the seat, and then he left to become a guard, and now he's back again in local politics. So I wonder would that stand against him, and he's from a different area than Tim Lombard. But if you take what you said there is relative in relation to the numbers. Like the towns, Bandon is 8,200 approximately, 6,000 for Kinsale, 5,000 for Clonakilty, Skibbereen, Bantry would be down around the 3,000. So if you like, the east end of the constituency, there'd be a lot of votes, like you're talking about the Kinsale, Bandon area, something like 15,000 votes to play with. And now Alan Coleman is down around that area as well, isn't he?
He is, yes indeed. Yeah. I'm going to use very loose figures here in the sense that it's been said that like 2/3 of the voting power is in the east of the constituency. So people in the western side, including Hollycairns, are in less densely populated areas. So they'll have to fight for every vote, and they will be relying on goodwill and local support to bring their numbers up. However, Michael Collins, for example, has a constituency office, say, in Bandon and Skibbereen, so he's covering his bases. And of course, his brother is in Bandon as well. And he does poll well right throughout the constituency. However, when it comes to the internal workings of Fine Gael, one would imagine that Tim Lombard would be best placed to hoover up the votes in the Bandon-Kinsale area. However, in the background, people are saying that Noel O'Donovan is doing a very heavy campaign in the Bandon area. And some people believe that Tim Lombard has been written off too soon, and that he's not necessarily going to be usurped by Noel O'Donovan because he has goodwill and support of his proposer and seconder, Marie O'Sullivan in Kinsale and Caroline Cronin on the Mizen Peninsula. So, like, if they bring their support and their supporters to bear, it could stand to Tim. But I don't know. I have no crystal ball. It's only on the day. We'll see what the first preference is, and then we'll know who's likely to benefit from transfer.
Yeah. What would you think of Sinn Féin this time around? Now, at one stage they were flying high in the polls. There's a bit of controversy lately. I think it was Paul Hayes stood from the last time, and a lot of his transfers actually went to Hollycairns and helped to get her over the line. How would you think both of the Sinn Féin, they have two candidates, do you think that there's a vote for them? The other one who would be, you'd wonder again, would even Nevin Labour Party have any benefit from the fact that they have a new leader, like who's a lady as well? Have you had any feedback on those two, like Sinn Féin and Labour in the constituency? No, will they make any challenge?
It's a kind of complicated question in one way, in that you'd imagine that there would be a protest vote against the government, the outgoing parties. However, I know Donncha O'Shea was previously elected to the town council. I think he was even previously mayor as well. But his polling power is not going to be strong enough to put him in the running. You're talking a quota, I think it's around 11,000. So your candidates will need to be in the 5, 6, 7 mark to be even at the races when the votes are counted on the 30th of November. As for Evie Nevin, she really tries hard and she's a very high media profile. She's determined. This time she's standing as a Labour candidate, but in the June local elections, she only got 450 first preference votes, I think. So I can't imagine that number jumping significantly. And the point underpinning all of that is Cork Southwest is a 3-seater constituency. Everybody knows that if they want a Social Democrat at the table, they have to vote for Holly. If they want a Fianna Fáil candidate, they have no choice but to vote for Christopher O'Sullivan. Likewise, independents, Michael Collins. The other independents probably won't get the look in they need. And I think I'm leaving somebody out here now.
Ian True Party and the Green Party. And
yes,
also
even
the People Before Profit Party, which would be so Lampard.
Yes, but even with Fine Gael, sorry, just to name check, Nola Donovan or Tim Lombard, it's up to the electorate in Cork Southwest to choose which one of them they're going to back on the day.
Yeah. Okay, so look, we leave it at that in relation to the candidates. I think we've been fair to everybody, really. Just one thing, so to wrap it up, Jackie, I suppose the Southwest constituency, and you pointed this out in your article, it's vast, like it goes from Kinsale to the Dorsey, right, out there, yes. Groom, which is massive, and when you only have 3 seats, it really there is a big question mark because there's a load of real rural areas in it. You have the big towns, which are really on the east side, if you like, and you also have industry there. You have 2 of the biggest pharmaceuticals between Bandon and Kinsale, which there are a lot of jobs there, a lot of service jobs and a lot of jobs, and there's a big catchment area there getting work. Plus you have agriculture, which is good around the Bandon area as well. But as you come further west, everything is just basically agriculture, farming, tourism, fishery and tourism. And other than that, do you think that's going to affect it? Or do you think like Holly is roughly, we say, Skibbereen, Bantry, Clonakilty is Christopher O'Sullivan, and then the Mizzen would be Michael Collins. So, the 3 of them are elected, but they're actually from the middle of the constituency. It's amazing when you think of it, that the bigger profile area where all the population is, they don't have a sitting TD.
Yes, and the but that comes in there is, and this is why I love elections so much, local and general. For years, the Southern Star was writing articles saying, Cork Southwest, Fine Gael heartland, predictable as you like. And I think it was for 6 decades, Fine Gael held 2 seats in Cork Southwest and Fianna Fáil held 1. And I always describe it as being like a seesaw with a fulcrum in the middle. In Bandon, you had Jim O'Keefe for Fine Gael. In the middle, you had Joe Walsh for Fianna Fáil. And that was in Clonakilty town. And then in the west, you had Paddy Sheehan. And I think Paddy Sheehan made more noise and more headlines than both of his contemporaries combined. So there was always the sense that the constituency was covered. And now, given voter apathy, I'm wondering, will the constituents come out and say, I'm voting for this guy or this gal because we need a voice in our area? And they have a choice. The candidates are there, and it's up to them to put their tick or their X across the appropriate name. We have candidates in Bandon, we have candidates in Clonakilty, Rosscarbery, and then as well Skibbereen West out to Schull and the peninsulas. So yes, there's a huge geographical spread, but the choice is limited to 1, 2 and 3.
Very good. So I suppose the first debate happened the other evening.
Yeah.
Did anything come out of that, do you think, or was it just a complete mess? There's different reports that there was contradictions between all the parties who were represented there. Holly wasn't there because of her situation. So she was represented by her deputy leader. But did anybody come out of that in good stead, or did somebody, fall flat in their face? What do you think? What's the gut feeling?
I watched it, and I hear people criticising newspapers, RTE, the media in general. But I think it was decent because 10 people stood up in front of a microphone. They answered the questions that was put to them. And I remember years ago talking to a famous person who declined print interviews. He said that on TV, people can make up their own mind. So what you had in the leaders' debate were 10 politicians, 10 party leaders standing up and setting out their wares. And I think they all did well, insofar as it's up to the public to decide how they performed, whether one person was too militant or another leader was too pedantic or theatrical. And I've heard other reporters saying negative things about different contributors. But I think it's a good thing, and I think people should tune in and watch it. They should listen to podcasts, they should read the papers, and just make an informed decision when they come to vote on the 29th.
Very good. Look, we leave it at that. Thanks for taking the call. It was a lovely chat.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is meat and veg to me.
And it was lovely to meet you. On the airways, hopefully I'll meet you in person someday, so thanks again.
Thanks, Dominic. Bye-bye.
Díomh agus fáilte roimh go dtí radio phobal Oileán Mhéara a créile FM 100.1 agus ar nidir líon ar fud an domhain.